Hello and welcome to part 2 of our series on looking at the Foucault pendulum versus the PLeane pendulum number 4. On today's experiment we are going to launch the pendulum without the magnet in the north direction. Now for those people who are just joining us, we're almost 50 experiments into this now, and the first thing we're looking at today, which is an issue that's been arising since probably 2015, but more so in the last several experiments, where we noticed that the bob appeared to be remaining in its original launch direction, while the pendulum processed either clockwise or anti-clockwise, and we can't explain why the bob did not stay in alignment with the pendulum. So quickly, let's just go over that again for these people who are just joining us. If we were to have a pendulum swing with a cord, and we were to launch it north-south, and it was to swing in this period, after a period of time the pendulum will either process clockwise or anti-clockwise. So for example, in the northern hemisphere it will process clockwise. So we would expect the bob to remain in alignment with the pendulum swing. However, what we were noticing was that the bob, although launched in its original trajectory, appeared to be sort of lagging the pendulum procession swing. So it wasn't in alignment, but somewhere in a lag, or in some cases it seemed to be actually trying to track the original trajectory, which indicates to me that the Earth is stationary. So that's what we're doing today with our experiment. So let's just go through our experiment setup for those people who are just joining us again. Let's remove this. What we have is a pendulum, a very accurate bob now, with two lasers, a laser for the central point and a laser over here from this alignment, indicator of alignment. We also have a magnetic release. So let's just quickly have a look at what we've got here, just checking our system. We have our our pendulum aligned north-south. That's by the compass. And we have our other laser dot located on the centre line. So the next shot you'll see will be the laser ready for launch. Alright, 5 minutes, 10 minutes later, I forget, I've been watching the time. Here's the setup. Now quickly, another thing for all you people building this setup. Just here you might notice my little pulse width modulator. It's just a DC motor controller, because the long period of time while this settles, I have a solenoid here and it will overheat and get red hot. So you'll need to put one of these small speed controllers in this circuit, so you can actually just have enough magnetic coupling to latch the solenoid and the pendulum. Otherwise, I can tell you now, you'll have smoke coming out of your solenoid if you don't. This is quite a long time. In fact, let's zoom at the other end. Just before we do, quickly, we're just checking our launch dot is here and here at the right spot. That will track the black line. Let's zoom it back to far end. That is still quivering. Okay, We're going to launch anyway because this experiment is more or less without the magnet. We expect it to be some procession, and not the experiment with the magnet will be the fact that we shouldn't see any movement in the bob. So here we go with release, just focusing on that magnet there. It should drop the ball bearing. Okay, now quite often this is what happens. We get an alignment misalignment, and the far end takes a while to settle. So what we see quite often is a massive misalignment from our central laser down the bottom here. But that's easy fixed for you people. I just found that what I do is I just forget about that and just adjust my setup to sync with that. There we go. Laser is following that black line, sorry. Now at the other end, the laser is in line with the line, which is good. Maybe this seems to be the worst one I've done yet. Of course, the one I record. But maybe this is a good thing, because we want to see this bob settle to its original launch position. So now you can see it's way off its launch. But with, if you remember those earlier videos with the MEM chip, there's accelerometer and accelerometer chips, we were getting this sort of effect every now and then where the bob angle seemed to be erratic for the first few swings. Now I have seen this track exactly up and down that line, but this case, of course, I'm recording it for a YouTube clip. It will not perform as expected, but let's just see what happens. Right, just checking our black line and the other laser. Still on track. Both boards are together, bottom board and top board at this stage. The far end laser is still in that left hand section. You must remember that we have possibly from that quivering as you've seen from the quivering at the start, the slightest quiver at this far end, near end, will create centimetres difference here at the far end. Possibly another indicator is the line on top of the pendulum itself, the bob. I'll just get a bit closer to that. You might see a black line just on the top of the bob, very hard to pick that, but that is actually following that. From my eye, looking at the top, it's following dead on the black line at the bottom, and almost impossible to detect the few millimetres variation at this end here. Alright, now what I'm noticing down here, we're starting to see a slight precession in the pendulum. We've been in, what, 7 minutes into this, or 8 minutes recording. If you might notice, we're getting a little bit further on this side of the line. And starting to creep this side of the line. Over here and over here. Which indicates to me a slight clockwise, and that would be about, looking at this slight deviation here, it's a few millimetres off that black line. Give you a better shot of that. Yes, that's slightly creeping further over this way on this side, and that side, the other end. To me, that's a clockwise precession. And ironically, it's probably about the right rate of precession too, considering what, now 9 minutes in. Checking the other end. The other end is roughly going up and down. But it does appear to be tracking towards this line here, which indicates that bob is actually tracking with the pendulum. So at this stage the pendulum is precessing clockwise, and the bob is also maybe not. No, it looks like it's original. Yeah, it looks like that's where it was started, this side, and then it goes to here. Unfortunately, it fell off that line, but okay, now let's go back to our precession of our pendulum. Okay, there's a very serious precession now. Well and truly over the line, this here, and creeping over here. I think I bumped this set up a little bit, just a fraction. We'll check that when the pendulum stops, where my centre line should be. Maybe that's the error I made. See that nail? When the pendulum is at rest, it should tip the top of that nail. However, we've got to clearly procession clockwise here, which shouldn't happen. Seeing I'm in the southern hemisphere, I should get an anti-clockwise. So I should be able to just track that now by moving not the whole unit but just this top piece of wood. Right, we're back in alignment, and I moved, just show you the other end, quite a distance actually. This gap here is quite a big angle, so we're processing quite a distance clockwise, yet to me the pendulum appears, the bob section, very hard to get these mixed up. The bob is actually sort of certainly further away from that line. This line here would be the pendulum tracking. This is the bob. So to me that indicates the bob is lagging somewhat the pendulum's precession. Yes, that's a clear difference. Alright, I might stop the video now. I'll be sick of hearing my voice. Let's come back in some time. I'll just record the clock here. It's 20 past 11. I'll come back in a time and we'll just see what's happened. Stay tuned. Alright, it's 15 minutes later and we're in the dying moments of the pendulum, and I can see that's clearly processing clockwise. Now, interesting, I should have kept recording. What I noticed, a strange phenomenon. At the far end, while the pendulum had a lot of energy, the bob appeared to be lagging significantly the pendulum's precession. However, as the pendulum wound down and the bob wound down in energy, the bob appeared to catch up to the swinging pendulum's precession line. So at this stage now, we look, the bob is actually caught up to the pendulum. So we're looking at now vectors and energy and another mix in the equation. So you can clearly see now the bob is caught up. In fact, if I make the alignment, I'll just align that up. We'll adjust now for precession. Where are you? I'll just adjust for a precession. Ooh, I think that's quite a significant change. Right. Oh no, my mistake. Okay. No, my mistake. The bob is definitely now lagging the precession of the pendulum. It'll soon be off the board, and we've actually changed our angle quite a significant. See that here? That's a significant angle. I'll just zoom along to give you an idea of the angle. That's quite a significant variation. Alright. Okay, so we can clearly see the bob is certainly lagging the procession of the pendulum. Now I've recorded this quite several times and I keep coming up with this. As I talk it through in my head and talk it through to someone else, it actually makes it clearer. But there's nothing like recording things. Yes, that's definitely almost ready to drop off. Although it is somewhat tracking the pendulum, there's a bigger gap now than what it started with. Early days, the magnet experiment will certainly confirm this theory, because the magnet will actually track true north and the bob will be locked to track true north. So, alright, I think that's enough for today. The next shot you'll see is just me checking that this thing did come drop on 0, but I think we've done enough. I'll wait till this pendulum stops and then we'll just check that I did not bump anything. So stand by for the next hour or so. Alright, here we are back again. I had to artificially stop this pendulum swinging. It was the batteries in my lasers won't last for hours, so right, I can see straight away that I must have bumped that slightly. That nail, that light was on the other side of the nail when I launched, so I'll just slip that back where it was, about there. Okay, go to the other end. And the bob is actually lined up with the pendulum. Okay, to me that indicates even stronger that the bob, when it was moving, had enough inertia to overcome the torsion of the cable. Interesting, something to contemplate for all you people in the comments. Okay, thanks for watching. See you in part 3 when we actually put the magnet inside the bob. Stay tuned.